They paid me a fortune to spy on a lonely billionaire, but nobody warned me I'd end up falling in love with him. I stare at the surveillance device in my trembling hands, its red light blinking like a heartbeat. What if this is all a lie? What if I destroy the only man who ever made me feel alive? The mansion's golden lights flicker through my tears as I watch Alexander through the window, completely unaware that his trusted assistant is about to shatter both their worlds. The elevator climbs 47 floors in complete silence, each floor marking another second closer to my betrayal. When the doors slide open to reveal the most breathtaking penthouse office I've ever seen, my carefully rehearsed confidence wavers. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcase Manhattan's glittering skyline, while pristine white furniture and modern art create an atmosphere of understated power. And there he stands, Alexander Stone. Not the cold, ruthless corporate shark I'd imagined from magazine covers, but a man whose presence fills the room with quiet intensity. He's tall, probably 6'3", with dark hair that looks like he's been running his fingers through it, and storm gray eyes that seem to see straight through my carefully constructed facade. There's something almost vulnerable about the way he stands by the window, shoulders slightly tense, as if he's bracing himself for another disappointment. "Miss Parker, I presume?" His voice is a low rumble that sends an unexpected shiver down my spine. When he turns those piercing eyes on me, something electric passes between us, a connection I definitely wasn't prepared for and certainly don't deserve. I force myself to step forward, my heels clicking against the marble floor. "Mr. Stone, thank you for this opportunity." My voice sounds steadier than I feel, which is a small miracle considering my heart is hammering against my ribs. His handshake is firm, but surprisingly gentle, his skin warm against mine. The contact lasts just a moment longer than professional courtesy demands, and I catch a hint of his cologne, something expensive and masculine that makes my pulse quicken. This man is supposed to be my target, my assignment, my ticket to saving Emma's life. He's not supposed to make me forget why I'm here with just a simple touch. "I don't usually hire personal assistants," he admits, moving toward his desk with fluid, confident steps. "But something about your application intrigued me." His office is immaculate, yet somehow lonely. Expensive abstract paintings line the walls, but there are no personal photographs, no warmth to suggest anyone calls this sterile perfection home. "I'm very thorough in my work," I manage, trying to ignore how my voice trembles slightly under his intense scrutiny. The irony isn't lost on me. I am thorough, just not in the way he thinks. Every detail of my fabricated resume has been meticulously crafted to appeal to exactly this type of position. Good. I value loyalty above all else. His eyes lock with mine again, and I feel exposed, as if he can see through my professional mask to the desperate woman beneath. I've been betrayed too many times by people I trusted. The pain in his voice is raw, real, and it hits me like a physical blow. My throat tightens with guilt I have no right to feel. "Trust is earned, not given," I hear myself say, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. Exactly. His smile is rare and genuine, transforming his entire face from merely handsome to absolutely devastating. "I have a feeling you and I are going to work very well together, Miss Parker." When he extends his hand again, presumably to show me around the office, his fingers brush against mine, and I feel that spark again, stronger this time, more dangerous. I'm supposed to be here to destroy him, but as he explains the filing system with the patience of a teacher and the passion of someone who genuinely cares about his work, I realize I might be in far more danger than I anticipated. Not from him, but from these traitorous feelings already taking root in my chest. 4 weeks earlier, I was drowning, not metaphorically, literally drowning in medical bills, collection notices, and the crushing weight of watching my little sister fade away while I counted pennies for her next round of chemotherapy. Emma, sweet 22-year-old Emma with her bright smile and fierce determination, had been fighting acute myeloid leukemia for 8 months. The treatments were working, but each round cost more than I made in 6 months as a freelance cybersecurity consultant. I was sitting in the hospital cafeteria, staring at a stack of overdue notices, when Derek Ashford approached my table. Tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than my rent, with calculating blue eyes and the kind of confident smile that made alarm bells ring in my head. "Sophia Parker, I have a proposition that could solve all your financial problems." He slid a black envelope across the scarred table, his manicured fingers drumming against the surface. $1 million to get close to Alexander Stone and report his business activities to us. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. "Excuse me?" "You heard correctly. $1 million. Half up front, half when the job is complete." Derek's smile never wavered, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "We suspect Mr. Stone is engaged in activities that could harm innocent people. You'd be doing a public service." "You want me to spy on him?" It wasn't a question. I'd heard of corporate espionage, but this felt different, darker somehow. Such an ugly word. Think of it as investigative consulting. Derek leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspirative whisper. "Your technical background makes you perfect for this assignment. Just get hired as his assistant, install some monitoring equipment, and send us regular reports. Simple." I should have walked away. Every instinct I possessed screamed that this was wrong, dangerous, probably illegal. But then I thought about Emma's pale face that morning, about how she'd tried to smile while the nurses prepped her for another brutal round of chemo, about the hospital administrator who'd gently suggested we might want to consider alternative arrangements if we couldn't meet our payment schedule. What kind of maneuvering? My voice sounded foreign to my own ears. Derek's smile widened, and he produced a small device that looked like a high-end Bluetooth earpiece. "Audio surveillance, computer access, document photography. Nothing that would physically harm him, I assure you." He slid the device across the table. "We'll guide you through everything. You just focus on getting close to him." Now, 3 weeks into my employment with Alexander, that innocent-looking earpiece feels like a lead weight against my ear. Every morning, Derek calls with the same questions, the same demands, the same subtle threats wrapped in corporate speak. "Progress report, Sophia. What did you discover yesterday?" Nothing unusual. He had back-to-back meetings with department heads, reviewed quarterly projections, and stayed late to personally respond to emails from scholarship recipients. I stare at my reflection in my apartment's bathroom mirror, hating the woman looking back at me. "Scholarship recipients?" Derek's voice sharpens with interest. "What kind of scholarships?" "Educational grants for underprivileged children." He reads every application personally and often increases the award amounts beyond what the foundation board recommends. The words taste bitter because they're true, and they paint Alexander as exactly the opposite of what Derek claims he is. How charitable of him. I'm sure it's all very legitimate. Derek's sarcasm is obvious. Dig deeper, Sophia. Look for financial irregularities, unexplained payments, anything that doesn't add up. He's hiding something. They always are. Maybe he's just a good person trying to help. Don't get emotionally involved. Derek's voice turns sharp, dangerous. He's not the man you think he is. Remember why you're there. Your sister needs that money, doesn't she? How is little Emma's treatment progressing? The reminder hits like a slap. Derek's done his homework. He knows exactly which buttons to push, which threats carry the most weight. She's responding well to the new protocol. Good. It would be such a shame if anything interrupted her care. These experimental treatments are so expensive, and insurance can be unpredictable. The threat is subtle but unmistakable. I end the call with shaking hands, Derek's words echoing in my head. But as I watch Alexander through his office window, seeing how he personally thanks each member of the cleaning crew, how he keeps photos of rescued animals on his private desk, how he works 16-hour days not for profit but to expand the foundation's reach, I begin to suspect that Derek Ashford is the one who's not what he seems. The breaking point comes when I accidentally overhear Alexander on a private call with his lawyer, discussing the anonymous donation of $50 million to fund a new children's cancer wing. Not for tax benefits, not for publicity, but simply because a little girl named Maria reminded him of someone he once knew who needed help. As I transcribe that conversation for Derek, my hands shake so badly I can barely type. I'm not just betraying Alexander's trust, I'm betraying everything I believe in, everything I want to be. But Emma's face haunts every decision, every moral compromise, every lie I tell to the man who treats me with more kindness than I deserve. It happens on a rain-soaked Thursday evening in late October. Alexander and I have been working late again, the office quiet except for the rhythmic patter of rain against the floor-to-ceiling windows and the soft clicking of keyboard keys. He's been unusually tense all week. Board meetings, regulatory reviews, and the constant pressure of managing a multi-billion-dollar empire while trying to maintain his humanitarian focus. "You should go home, Sophia. It's past 9, and you've been here since 7 this morning." He doesn't look up from the merger documents spread across his desk, but I can see the exhaustion in the set of his shoulders, the way he rubs his temples as if fighting a headache. So should you. I set down a fresh cup of coffee beside his computer, dark roast, no cream, exactly how he likes it. It's a small intimacy I've learned over our weeks together, one of many details that make our professional relationship feel dangerously personal. "When's the last time you actually left the office before midnight?" He looks up then, surprise flickering across his features. "I don't really have anywhere else to be." The admission is quiet, almost vulnerable, and it breaks something inside my chest. "Everyone needs somewhere to belong, Alexander." His first name slips out before I can stop it, crossing the invisible line between professional and personal that I've been carefully maintaining. Do they? He stands slowly, moving to the window where city lights twinkle through the rain like fallen stars. Sometimes I think isolation is safer. People can't disappoint you if you don't let them close enough to matter. I join him at the window, drawn by the melancholy in his voice. Our reflections waver in the rain-streaked glass, two people standing close enough to touch, but separated by lies I can't confess. That sounds incredibly lonely. It is. His admission is barely a whisper, so soft I almost miss it. But loneliness is predictable. Betrayal isn't. At least when you're alone, you know exactly what to expect. Without thinking, I reach out and touch his arm, feeling the warm strength of him through his expensive shirt. "Not everyone will betray you, Alexander." He turns to face me then, and suddenly we're standing inches apart, close enough that I can see the flecks of silver in his gray eyes, close enough to count the faint lines that speak of too much responsibility carried too young. "Sophia." He breathes my name like a prayer, like a plea, like a promise I'm not worthy of receiving. When he cups my face in his hands, I know I should pull away. I know this is wrong, that I'm here under false pretenses, that every moment between us is built on lies I've carefully constructed. But when his lips touch mine, soft and hesitant at first, then deeper as I respond despite every rational thought screaming at me to stop, I'm lost. The kiss is everything I didn't know I was searching for. Gentle yet passionate, filled with longing and hope, and the sweet ache of connection I've been craving my entire life. His hands tangle in my hair, and I can taste the coffee we've been sharing, can feel the desperation in the way he holds me, as if I might disappear at any moment. The spell breaks when my phone buzzes insistently on the desk behind us, the sound cutting through the rain and the romance like a knife. Derek's name flashes on the screen, and reality crashes back with devastating force. I'm kissing the man I'm supposed to be betraying, losing myself in feelings that have no right to exist. I pull away abruptly, my heart pounding, with a mixture of desire and crushing guilt. Alexander's hands drop to his sides, confusion and hurt flickering across his features. "I'm sorry," he says immediately, taking a step back. "I shouldn't have. This was inappropriate. You work for me and I took advantage. No, it's not that." The words tumble out desperately because I can't bear for him to think he did anything wrong. It's not about work or professionalism or any of that. Then what? His voice is careful, controlled, but I can see the vulnerability he's trying to hide. The truth hovers on my lips, all of it. The lies, the surveillance, Derek's threats, Emma's illness, the impossible choice between love and loyalty. But the words stick in my throat because confessing means losing him forever, and I'm not ready for that pain. Not yet. "I have responsibilities," I finally manage, hating how weak it sounds. "People depending on me. Getting involved with you wouldn't be fair to either of us." Something shudders in his expression, and the warmth disappears as if it never existed. "I see. Of course. You're absolutely right." His voice turns formal, distant, professional. "Forgive me for misreading the situation." "Alexander, please." "It's late. You should go home, Miss Parker." The return to my surname cuts deeper than any anger could have. He moves back to his desk, effectively dismissing me, and I watch helplessly as he rebuilds the walls I'd only just begun to breach. I gather my things with unsteady hands, the taste of his kiss still on my lips, the memory of his touch burning on my skin. At the door, I turn back one more time, hoping to see some sign that this moment mattered to him as much as it did to me. But he's already lost in his work, shoulders rigid with tension, the connection between us severed as completely as if it never existed. The elevator ride down feels like a descent into hell. 47 floors to remember every second of that kiss. 47 floors to hate myself for wanting more. 47 floors to prepare for Derek's call and the lies I'll have to tell about the most honest moment of my life. My phone rings before I reach the lobby. "Progress report, Sophia. I trust you had a productive evening." If only he knew how productive. If only he knew that in the space of one kiss, Alexander Stone had become infinitely more dangerous to my mission. Not because he's the villain Derek claims he is, but because he's exactly the kind of man I could love forever if I weren't busy destroying both our lives. The next 3 days are pure torture. Alexander treats me with perfect professional courtesy, polite, distant, utterly impersonal. He says please and thank you and Miss Parker with the same tone he uses for the cleaning crew, and every formal interaction feels like a small death. The easy camaraderie we'd built over weeks vanishes overnight, replaced by a chasm I created with my inability to trust him with the truth. I catch him watching me sometimes when he thinks I'm not looking, his expression unreadable but tinged with something that might be regret. Those moments give me hope, but they're gone so quickly I wonder if I imagined them. Friday afternoon finds me in his private library, supposedly organizing his first edition collection, but really just torturing myself with memories of better times. The room smells like leather and old books and the faint trace of his cologne that seems to linger everywhere he's been. When the door opens behind me, I don't turn around. I know his footsteps by now, know the particular way he moves through space like he owns it. "The Henderson contract is ready for your review," I say without looking up from the Hemingway novel in my hands. "Thank you." He takes the file I offer, but instead of leaving, he remains standing there, close enough that I can feel the warmth radiating from his body. "Sophia, about Tuesday night?" There's nothing to discuss. I finally face him, and the pain in his eyes nearly undoes my resolve. We're both professionals. These things happen. Do they? His voice is quiet, thoughtful. Because I've never felt anything like what I felt when I kissed you. The honesty in his admission steals my breath. I want to tell him I feel the same way, that Tuesday night has replayed in my mind 1,000 times, that I lie awake remembering every detail of his touch. Instead, I clutch the book tighter and try to maintain my crumbling defenses. Alexander, I know you're scared. He sets the contract aside and moves closer, not touching, but near enough that I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. I'm scared too. Terrified, actually. I haven't felt anything real in so long. I'd forgotten what it was like to care about someone. This isn't real, I whisper, hating myself for the lie. We barely know each other. Don't we? His smile is sad, knowing. I know you take your coffee with exactly 2 sugars and a splash of cream. I know you bite your lower lip when you're concentrating. I know you stay late not because I ask you to, but because you genuinely care about the work we're doing. He pauses, studying my face with an intensity that makes me feel exposed. I know that when you smile, really smile, not that polite professional version, your whole face lights up. And I know that when I kissed you, you kissed me back like you meant it. Tears threaten at the corners of my eyes because everything he's saying is true. And more than true. He does know me, better than anyone has in years, maybe better than anyone ever has. But he doesn't know the most important thing, that I'm here to destroy him. I did mean it, I admit in a broken whisper. That's what scares me. Over the following weeks, our relationship enters a delicate dance of attraction and restraint. Alexander doesn't push for more than I seem willing to give, but the tension between us is electric, crackling in every shared glance, every accidental touch, every moment when we're alone together. Meanwhile, my surveillance work continues, and what I discover shakes me to my core. The more I dig into Alexander's private files, the clearer it becomes that Derek Ashford has been lying to me from the very beginning. Late one evening, while installing Derek's latest monitoring software on Alexander's computer, I accidentally access a password-protected folder buried deep in his system. Inside, I find evidence that turns my world upside down. Detailed surveillance reports on his own company, financial audits going back 5 years, and a private investigation into embezzlement within Stone Industries. But it's the name at the center of the investigation that makes my blood run cold: Derek Ashford. My hands shake as I read through file after file. Derek wasn't just any rival businessman. He was Alexander's business partner 5 years ago, the CFO of Stone Industries, who'd been systematically embezzling funds from the company's charitable foundation. Alexander had discovered the theft and had Derek prosecuted, but Derek was released on a technicality when key evidence was deemed inadmissible. The final file contains a private investigator's report dated just 3 months ago. Subject Derek Ashford has been operating under multiple corporate identities, targeting former associates for revenge-based operations. Recommend immediate security upgrade and employee background verification. The pieces fall into place with sickening clarity. Derek's approach at the hospital, his intimate knowledge of my financial situation, his insistence that Alexander was hiding something, it was all carefully orchestrated revenge. I'm not here to uncover Alexander's crimes. I'm Derek's weapon of choice to destroy an innocent man. I copy the files with trembling fingers, my mind racing. Derek has been using Emma's illness as leverage, manipulating my desperation to turn me into an unknowing accomplice. Every report I've sent him, every secret I've uncovered, every private moment I've violated, it's all been in service of a lie. Sophia? Alexander's voice from the doorway makes me jump so hard I nearly knock over my coffee cup. What are you doing? I spin around, guilty panic written all over my face. The monitoring software is still installing on his computer, its progress bar inching toward completion, while evidence of my betrayal glows on the screen behind me. I was just organizing your files, I stammer, trying to position myself between him and the incriminating display. His eyes narrow as he takes in the scene, my obvious distress, the suspicious programs running on his computer, the USB device still plugged into the tower. Sophia, what's on my screen? The disappointment in his voice is worse than anger, worse than accusations. It's the sound of trust dying in real time. It's not what it looks like. The words sound pathetic even to my own ears. Alexander moves past me to his computer, his face growing paler with each line of code he reads. Surveillance software, network infiltration protocols, remote access programs. His voice is deadly quiet, controlled in the way that suggests he's holding back an explosion. How long, Sophia? I want to lie, to fabricate some explanation that might salvage this disaster, but the weight of weeks of deception finally breaks me. Since the beginning. Since the day I hired you, it's not a question. He's already connecting the dots, already realizing the scope of my betrayal. Yes, but Alexander, if you'll just let me explain. Explain what? That you've been spying on me for 8 weeks? That everything between us has been a lie? He turns to face me, and the pain in his eyes is devastating. That kiss, these feelings I've been developing, was it all part of your assignment? No, the word explodes from me with such force that he actually steps back. The feelings are real. Everything I told you about caring for you, about being scared, that's all true. How can I possibly believe that when everything else has been a lie? It's a fair question, one I have no good answer for. How do you prove sincerity when you've built your entire relationship on deception? How do you claim honesty when you've been systematically violating someone's privacy for money? The man who hired me, I say desperately, it's Derek Ashford. Alexander goes completely still. Derek? He told me you were a criminal, that I'd be doing a public service by exposing you. But I found your files. I know he embezzled from you. I know this is all revenge. So you thought you'd tell me now? After weeks of betraying my trust? After His voice breaks slightly, and he has to stop to compose himself. After I fell in love with you? The confession hits me like a physical blow. He loves me. This incredible, generous, lonely man loves me, and I've destroyed any possibility of that love surviving. I love you too, I whisper, tears streaming down my face. I know you don't believe me, but it's true. I've been in love with you for weeks, and it's been killing me. Stop. He holds up a hand, and his expression has gone cold, distant. Just stop. I can't do this right now. He moves to his desk, pulling out his phone with mechanical precision. Security will escort you out. Your final paycheck will be direct deposited, minus the cost of any security breaches you may have caused. Alexander, please. Don't. His voice is raw, broken. Don't make this harder than it already is. I want to fight, to fall on my knees and beg for forgiveness, to find some way to make him understand that my love for him is the only real thing in this entire mess. But the devastation on his face tells me it's too late. Trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt with words. I remove the earpiece Derek gave me, the symbol of my betrayal, and place it on his desk next to my resignation letter that I write on the spot. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You deserved better than this. You deserved better than me. He doesn't respond, doesn't even look at me as I gather my personal belongings. The elevator ride down is endless, each floor a countdown to the end of everything good in my life. When the lobby doors open, I step out into the rain and realize I'm not just leaving a job, I'm leaving my heart behind. 3 days after my termination, I'm sitting in Emma's hospital room, watching her sleep peacefully after her latest treatment, when my phone rings. Derek's name on the screen fills me with a rage so pure it surprises me. Excellent work, Sophia. His voice is triumphant, oily with satisfaction. The surveillance data you provided is exactly what we need to destroy Alexander Stone once and for all. I'm not giving you anything else, Derek. I quit. You can't quit. We have a contract, legally binding terms that sue me. I stand up, moving away from Emma's bed so my voice won't wake her. I know who you are now. I know about the embezzlement, about your real reason for targeting Alexander. You used me. Derek's laugh is cold, calculating. Of course I used you, just like Stone will use the next naive little girl who falls for his act. You think you're the first assistant he seduced? You think that kiss meant something special? The words hit their mark, stirring up doubts I've been trying to suppress. But I pushed them away. I know what I felt, what I saw in Alexander's eyes. Derek is lying, manipulating, trying to make me doubt the one real thing in this entire nightmare. You're pathetic, I tell him, a criminal who can't accept that he got caught. And you're about to learn what happens to people who break their agreements with me. Derek's voice turns dangerous, predatory. It would be such a shame if something happened to little Emma's treatment. Amazing how quickly medical files can get lost, how insurance claims can be denied, how experimental protocols can be declared unsuitable for certain patients. My blood turns to ice. Are you threatening my sister? I'm reminding you of the consequences of betrayal. You have until midnight to deliver the final surveillance package, or Emma's chemotherapy ends tomorrow morning, permanently. The line goes dead, leaving me staring at my phone in horror. I sink into the bedside chair, my hands shaking as the full scope of Derek's manipulation becomes clear. He never intended to pay me the promised $1 million. He's been using Emma's life as leverage from the very beginning, keeping me trapped in his web of revenge through the one thing I care about more than my own life. Emma stirs in her sleep, murmuring something unintelligible, and my heart breaks all over again. How did I let things get this far? How did my desperation to save her turn into a weapon that could destroy us both? My phone buzzes with a text message containing an address and a time. Midnight, Pier 47, come alone, bring everything. I stare at the message for a long time, weighing my options. I could run, take Emma, and disappear somewhere Derek can't find us. But she's in the middle of a critical treatment cycle. Moving her now could kill her faster than Derek's threats. I could go to the police, but Derek's covered his tracks too well, and Emma can't wait for a lengthy investigation. Or I can do what I should have done weeks ago, tell Alexander the truth and pray he's a better man than Derek Ashford. At 11:15 p.m., I break into Alexander's building using the access codes I memorized during my employment. The security guard recognizes me and assumes I'm here on business, a reasonable assumption since I've worked late countless times before. The elevator ride to the 47th floor feels like ascending to my own execution. I find Alexander in his office, looking haggard and exhausted. There are dark circles under his eyes, and his usually perfect appearance is disheveled. He looks up when I enter, and for a moment, hope flickers across his features before being replaced by guarded caution. Sophia, what are you doing here? How did you— Derek Ashford is planning to frame you, tonight. You have 30 seconds to explain before I call security. Alexander's voice is cold, professional, but I can see the hurt lurking beneath the surface. Derek's been using me from the beginning, I say, the words tumbling out in a desperate rush. My sister Emma has leukemia, acute myeloid leukemia. The treatment costs are bankrupting our family, and Derek approached me when I was at my most vulnerable. He promised me $1 million to spy on you, told me you were a criminal who needed to be exposed. Alexander's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Your sister is sick? She's dying without treatment that costs more than I make in 5 years. Derek knew that, targeted me specifically because he knew I'd do anything to save her. Tears start flowing down my cheeks, but I force myself to continue. I thought I was doing the right thing at first, but the more time I spent with you, the more I realized Derek was lying about everything. So you decided to tell me now? After weeks of systematically violating my privacy, after recording our conversations, after— his voice breaks slightly— after making me believe that what was happening between us was real? It was real. I stepped closer, desperate to make him understand. Everything I felt for you, everything I told you about caring for you, that was all true. The job was fake, but my feelings weren't. How can I possibly know the difference? He stands, moving away from me as if my proximity is physically painful. How can I trust anything you say when your entire presence in my life has been built on deception? It's a fair question, one I have no good answer for. Because I'm here now, risking everything to warn you. Derek threatened Emma's treatment if I don't deliver final surveillance data tonight. He could end her chemotherapy tomorrow, and I'm still here telling you the truth. What kind of final data? I pull out a USB drive, the one Derek gave me weeks ago, now loaded with everything I've collected. Financial records, private conversations, personal information. He plans to use it to fabricate evidence of money laundering and tax evasion. The FBI raid happens at dawn. Alexander stares at the drive like it's a snake about to strike. You recorded private conversations? Yes, there's no point in lying anymore. Board meetings, phone calls, personal moments. I hate myself for it, but yes. Personal moments. His voice is barely a whisper. Our conversations. The things I told you about my past, about feeling lonely, about falling in love with me. I finish the sentence he can't. Yes, I recorded that too. The silence that follows is deafening. Alexander turns away from me, his shoulders rigid with pain and betrayal. When he finally speaks, his voice is hollow, defeated. Do you have any idea what you've done? Those recordings don't just contain business information. They contain details about foundation recipients, private medical information about children receiving treatment, confidential family situations that could destroy lives if they became public. The weight of his words crashes over me like a tsunami. In my focus on the business espionage, I hadn't considered the human cost of my betrayal. How many innocent people could be hurt by my recordings? How many children and families could have their privacy violated because of my desperation to save Emma? I didn't think. No, you didn't think. You were so focused on your own problems that you didn't consider the consequences for anyone else. Alexander's anger is cold, controlled, but devastating in its intensity. Those children trust me to protect their privacy. Their families shared intimate details about their medical situations, their financial struggles, their personal fears, and you recorded all of it for Derek to weaponize. I can destroy the recordings, I offer desperately. I can delete everything, make sure Derek never gets the files. It's too late for that. Derek has copies of everything you've sent him over the past 8 weeks. The damage is already done. Alexander finally turns to face me, and the disappointment in his eyes is worse than hatred would have been. You want to know the real tragedy, Sophia? I would have helped you. What? If you'd told me about your sister, about the medical bills, about your desperate situation, I would have helped you. Anonymously, no strings attached, no questions asked. I've built my entire life around helping people in exactly your situation. His voice breaks slightly. But instead, you chose to destroy me. The truth of his words hits me like a physical blow. Of course he would have helped. I've seen his charitable work firsthand, witnessed his genuine care for people in desperate situations. He would have saved Emma without asking for anything in return, and I threw that away for Derek's blood money. I know, I whisper, my voice barely audible. I know you would have helped, and that makes this so much worse. I destroyed the best man I've ever met because I was too scared and too proud to ask for help. Scared and proud, Alexander laughs bitterly. Those are interesting words coming from someone who spent 2 months systematically violating my trust. You're right to hate me, but please don't let Derek destroy you because of my mistakes. Take the evidence to the FBI first. Tell them about Derek's real motives. It's too late for that, too. Alexander checks his watch grimly. If Derek's planned this correctly, the raid will happen in less than 6 hours. Even if I could prove his vendetta, the damage to my reputation and the foundation will be irreversible. The children we help, the families who depend on us, they'll all suffer because you chose revenge money over the truth. The weight of what I've done, not just to Alexander, but to countless innocent people, finally breaks me completely. I sink into a chair, sobbing with a grief so profound it feels like dying. I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know that falling in love with you was the only real thing in this entire nightmare. Love. Alexander's voice is soft, wondering. You call this love? I call sacrificing everything to warn you love. I call giving up the money that could save Emma's life love. I call hating myself every single day for what I've done to you love. I look up at him through my tears, memorizing his face one last time. I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't expect you to, but I needed you to know the truth before Derek destroys both of us. Alexander stares at me for a long moment, something unreadable flickering in his expression. Then he moves to his safe, pulling out several hard drives and folders thick with documents. These contain the real evidence: proof of Derek's embezzlement, documentation of his threats against your sister, records of every illegal action he's taken in the past 5 years. Alexander's voice is steady, businesslike. I've been building a case against him since the day he was released from prison. You knew he was coming for you? I knew Derek Ashford would never let his defeat stand unchallenged. I just didn't expect him to use someone— He stops himself before finishing the sentence. Someone I cared about as his weapon of choice. I take the hard drives with trembling hands. What do you want me to do with these? Exactly what you should have done 8 weeks ago. Tell the truth. The federal investigation unfolds exactly as Derek planned, but with one crucial difference. I'm waiting for the FBI when they arrive, armed with Alexander's evidence and my full confession. The next 72 hours pass in a blur of interrogations, depositions, and the slow, painful process of untangling Derek's web of lies. Derek Ashford is arrested on multiple charges: embezzlement, extortion, corporate espionage, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The evidence Alexander compiled over 5 years is overwhelming, painting a clear picture of a man consumed by revenge and willing to destroy innocent lives to achieve it. My testimony seals Derek's fate, but it also seals mine. I'm charged with corporate espionage and invasion of privacy, but the federal prosecutor offers me a deal: full cooperation and a suspended sentence in exchange for my testimony against Derek. It's more mercy than I deserve, and I accept it gratefully. The charges against Alexander are dropped within a week, once the FBI realizes they've been manipulated by Derek's fabricated evidence. But the damage to his reputation lingers. The business press has a field day with the story of the billionaire and his spy, turning our tragedy into tabloid entertainment. I don't read the articles. I can't bear to see our story reduced to clickbait headlines and social media memes. Emma's treatment continues without interruption. Alexander anonymously paid her medical bills in full before disappearing from public view. The payment comes with a simple note: no one should suffer for someone else's mistakes. Emma doesn't know the source of her sudden good fortune, and I can't bring myself to tell her. How do you explain that the man who saved your life is the same one your sister betrayed? I find work as a freelance cybersecurity consultant, but it's nothing like working for Alexander. My reputation is tainted. Some clients hire me because of the notoriety, others avoid me entirely. I tell myself it's what I deserve, but the loneliness is suffocating. The small apartment I can afford now feels like a prison cell compared to the bright, spacious office where I used to work. Every morning I wake up reaching for a life that no longer exists, for a man who no longer trusts me, for a love I destroyed with my own hands. At night, I dream of storm-gray eyes and gentle touches, of conversations that felt like coming home, of a kiss that tasted like forever. I wake up with tears on my cheeks and Alexander's name on my lips, mourning something I never really had the right to claim. 6 months after the investigation ends, I'm debugging code in my cramped apartment when Emma calls, her voice bright with excitement. "Sophia, turn on Channel 7 right now. You have to see this." I fumble for the remote, switching to the local news just as Alexander's face fills the screen. He looks older somehow, more serious, but still heartbreakingly handsome in his perfectly tailored suit. The banner at the bottom reads, "Local billionaire announces unprecedented charitable foundation." Today, Alexander Stone announced the formation of the Stone Foundation for Medical Access, a charitable organization that will provide free cancer treatment to children from low-income families, the anchor explains. In an unprecedented move, Mr. Stone has donated his entire personal fortune, estimated at over $2 billion, to fund the foundation in perpetuity. The camera cuts to Alexander standing behind a podium, his expression grave but determined. Every child deserves the chance to fight for their life, regardless of their family's financial situation. This foundation will ensure that no parent ever has to choose between their child's health and their financial security. "Mr. Stone," a reporter calls out, "what inspired this extraordinary act of philanthropy?" Alexander pauses, and for just a moment, his composed mask slips. I see the pain there, the weight of loss and betrayal, and lessons learned the hard way. "Someone once taught me that love means sacrificing for others, even when they don't deserve it, even when it costs you everything." My hands fly to my mouth as tears stream down my face. He's talking about me, about us, about the lesson my betrayal taught him. But there's no bitterness in his voice, no anger, just a profound sadness that breaks my heart all over again. "This foundation will serve as a reminder that redemption is always possible," Alexander continues, "and that even our worst mistakes can lead to something meaningful if we're willing to learn from them." Emma squeezes my hand through the phone. "Soph, are you crying? Why are you crying?" I can't answer her because I'm sobbing too hard to speak. Alexander has taken the worst thing that ever happened to him, my betrayal, and transformed it into something beautiful, something that will save hundreds of children like Emma. He's found a way to turn our tragedy into hope for others. "He looks so sad," Emma observes, studying Alexander's face on the screen, "like he's lost something important." "He has," I manage to whisper. "What did he lose?" I turn off the television because I can't watch anymore, can't bear to see the man I love carrying the weight of my mistakes. Trust, hope, the belief that people can choose love over self-interest. "Maybe he'll find those things again," Emma says softly. "Maybe, but I know better. Some wounds never heal. Some betrayals leave scars too deep for forgiveness. Some love stories end in sacrifice rather than salvation." That night, I write Alexander a letter I know I'll never send. 20 pages of apologies and explanations and declarations of love that come too late to matter. I pour my heart onto paper, telling him about the sleepless nights, the crushing regret, the love that grows stronger instead of fading, despite everything that's happened between us. When I finish writing, I fold the letter carefully and place it in a box with other mementos from our time together. A coffee cup from his office, a pen he gave me, the earpiece I wore to betray him. Then I carry the box to my tiny balcony and set it all on fire, watching our story turn to ash in the cold night air. But even as the flames consume the physical remnants of our relationship, I know the memories will never burn away. Alexander Stone will live in my heart forever, not as the man I betrayed, but as the man who taught me what love really means. The breakthrough comes 8 months after the investigation ends, during one of Emma's regular checkups. She's been in remission for 6 months now, healthy and vibrant, and planning for a future that seemed impossible a year ago. As we sit in the oncology waiting room, the same room where Derek first approached me with his poisonous offer, Emma confronts me about the obvious misery I've been carrying like a weight on my shoulders. "You're killing yourself with guilt, Sophia. Anyone with eyes can see it." "I'm fine," I lie, the same lie I've been telling everyone for months. "You're not fine. You haven't been fine since that whole disaster with your boss." Emma's voice is gentle but firm, the voice of someone who's faced death and learned not to waste time on bullshit. You barely eat, you work constantly, and you look like you haven't slept properly in months. This isn't living, it's existing. I want to brush off her concern, to deflect with humor or sarcasm or any of the defense mechanisms I've perfected over the past year. But sitting in this hospital, surrounded by families fighting for their lives, pretense feels obscene. I destroyed everything good in my life, I admit quietly. I had a chance at real love, real happiness, and I threw it away for money. You threw it away to save my life, Emma corrects sharply. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like I made a deal with the devil and dragged an innocent man down with me. Emma is quiet for a long moment, studying my face with the intensity she usually reserves for her art projects. Tell me everything, she says finally, and I mean everything, not the sanitized version you've been feeding me for months. So I do. For the first time since the investigation ended, I tell the complete truth about Derek's blackmail, about falling in love with Alexander, about the impossible choice between her life and his trust. I tell her about the surveillance equipment, the recorded conversations, the way Alexander looked at me when he discovered my betrayal. I tell her about the foundation he created, about the children he's saving, about the love I destroyed and the redemption I'll never deserve. When I finish, Emma is crying. Not the gentle tears of sympathy, but the angry tears of someone who's been lied to for too long. "You idiot," she says fiercely. "Excuse me?" "You absolute self-sacrificing idiot." Emma grabs my hands, her grip surprisingly strong for someone who's been through months of chemotherapy. "You made an impossible choice with impossible stakes, and you've been torturing yourself ever since like you're some kind of monster." "I betrayed him, Emma. I violated his privacy, his trust." "You were being blackmailed." Emma's voice rises enough to draw stares from other families in the waiting room. "A criminal threatened my life to force you into corporate espionage, and you're acting like you had some kind of choice in the matter? I could have told Alexander the truth from the beginning." "Could you? Really?" Emma's eyes flash with anger and protective love. "A stranger approaches you with $1 million offer to spy on a billionaire, and your first instinct should have been to trust the billionaire? You were desperate, scared, and being manipulated by someone with years of experience in this kind of psychological warfare. I could have told Alexander the truth from the beginning." "Could you? Really?" Emma's eyes flash with anger and protective love. "A stranger approaches you with $1 million offer to spy on a billionaire, and your first instinct should have been to trust the billionaire? You were desperate, scared, and being manipulated by someone with years of experience in this kind of psychological warfare." I stare at my sister, seeing her clearly for the first time in months. When did she become so wise? When did her perspective become so much clearer than mine? "But I heard him," I whisper. "I saw the pain in his eyes when he found out, and you risked everything to save him once you learned the truth," Emma interrupts. "You gave up the money that could have guaranteed my treatment. You faced federal charges. You testified against Derek, knowing it would destroy your reputation. That's not betrayal, Sophia. That's love." Emma's words haunt me for weeks, forcing me to re-examine everything I thought I knew about guilt and redemption and second chances. Slowly, painfully, I begin to see our story differently, not as a simple tale of betrayal and consequences, but as something more complex, more human, more forgivable. I start by writing to Alexander, not the rambling, emotional letters I burned months ago, but simple, honest notes that I actually send. "The foundation saved Maria Gonzalez this month. She's 7 years old, loves dinosaurs, and wants to be a paleontologist when she grows up. Because of you, she'll have that chance. Thank you for turning our tragedy into someone else's hope. S." I don't expect responses, and I don't get them. But sending the letters feels like a small step toward healing, toward finding a way to live with the weight of what I've done. Next, I channel my technical skills into something meaningful. I create a pro bono consulting service for small nonprofits, helping them secure their systems and protect their data from people like Derek Ashford. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest work that helps people. And slowly, very slowly, it begins to rebuild my sense of self-worth. I testify at Derek's sentencing hearing, facing his threats and his lawyer's character assassination with a calm I didn't know I possessed. When the judge sentences him to 15 years in federal prison, I feel nothing but relief that this chapter is finally closed. But the real test comes on a rainy Tuesday evening, almost exactly 1 year after Derek first approached me in this same hospital cafeteria. I'm waiting for Emma after her annual scan when I see him, Alexander Stone, standing by the children's ward reception desk, talking quietly with the doctor. He looks different, older, more serious, but also somehow more at peace. His dark hair is shorter, and there are new lines around his eyes that speak of hard-earned wisdom. He's wearing jeans and a simple sweater instead of his usual expensive suits, and the casual attire makes him look more approachable, more human. My heart pounds as I watch him interact with the medical staff. They clearly know him well, treating him with the kind of easy familiarity that comes from regular contact. When a little girl in a wheelchair rolls up to him, her face lighting up with recognition, he kneels down to her level and pulls out a small stuffed dinosaur from his jacket pocket. It's Maria Gonzalez, the little girl I mentioned in my letter, the one who wants to be a paleontologist. Alexander remembered, and he brought her a gift that honors her dreams. The simple kindness of the gesture breaks my heart and heals it simultaneously. I'm so focused on watching their interaction that I don't notice him looking in my direction until our eyes meet across the crowded hallway. Time stops. The noise of the hospital fades into silence. For a moment that lasts forever, we simply look at each other. Two people who shared something beautiful and broke it and somehow survived the destruction. Then Alexander says something to Maria, hands her the dinosaur, and begins walking toward me with purpose. My first instinct is to run, to disappear into the crowd before he can reach me. But Emma's words echo in my mind. That's not betrayal, Sophia. That's love. So I stay. I wait. And when Alexander stops in front of me, close enough that I can smell his familiar cologne, close enough to see the silver flecks in his gray eyes, I find the courage to speak first. Hello, Alexander? Sophia. My name on his lips sounds different than it used to. Careful, cautious, but not unkind. How are you? Better than I was, not as good as I could be. I gesture toward Maria, who's showing her new dinosaur to a group of other children. She's beautiful. The letter I sent about her. I read all your letters, he says quietly, and my heart stops. Every single one. I didn't expect you to respond. I couldn't. Not then, but I kept them. Alexander studies my face as if he's memorizing it, or perhaps comparing the woman before him to some memory he's been carrying. You look different. So do you. Happier, maybe? The foundation helps. Turning something destructive into something constructive, it's been healing, in its way. He pauses, and I can see him weighing his next words carefully. I come here every week now, volunteer work, spending time with the kids, making sure the program is working the way it should. That's wonderful. The children are lucky to have you. They're not the only ones who've benefited from second chances. The words hang between us, heavy with implication. Is he talking about the children, or is he talking about us? Before I can ask, Emma appears at my elbow, practically vibrating with excitement. Sophia, the scans are clear. Dr. Martinez says... She stops mid-sentence when she realizes I'm not alone. Oh, hello. Emma, I say carefully, I'd like you to meet Alexander Stone. Alexander, this is my sister Emma. Alexander's expression transforms as he looks at Emma, the woman whose illness started this entire chain of events. I brace myself for anger, for resentment, for some sign that he blames her for what I did. Instead, his face softens with something that looks almost like gratitude. "Emma," he says warmly, extending his hand, "it's wonderful to finally meet you. How are you feeling?" "Like I can conquer the world," Emma replies, shaking his hand with enthusiasm. "1 year cancer-free as of today. That's incredible news. You must be so relieved." "We both are," Emma says, glancing meaningfully between Alexander and me. "Though I think Sophia has some other things she'd like to celebrate too, if she could find the courage." I want to disappear into the floor, but Alexander's lips quirk upward in what might be the beginning of a smile. "Courage is something your sister has never lacked, even when she thought she was being cowardly." The three of us stand there in an increasingly awkward silence until Emma, bless her interfering heart, claims she needs to use the restroom and disappears, leaving Alexander and me alone together for the first time in almost a year. "She seems wonderful," Alexander says, watching Emma's retreating figure. "She is. She's the best thing in my life." I pause, gathering courage I'm not sure I possess. "Alexander, I know I have no right to ask this, but have dinner with me." The words come out so quickly, so unexpectedly, that I'm sure I misheard him. "What?" "Have dinner with me," Alexander repeats, his voice steady, but his eyes uncertain. "Tonight, if you're free. There are things we need to talk about, and this isn't the place for that conversation." My heart pounds so hard I'm surprised he can't hear it. "Are you sure? Because I understand if you never want to see me again." "Sophia." Alexander's voice is gentle, patient. "Have dinner with me." This time it's not a request. It's hope, offered carefully but sincerely. And for the first time in almost a year, I allow myself to hope too. "Yes," I whisper. "I'd like that very much." Alexander chooses a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy, the kind of place where the tables are close together and the lighting is soft and golden. It's intimate without being presumptuous, romantic without being overwhelming, perfectly chosen for two people who need to rebuild something fragile from the ground up. We sit across from each other, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us like a curtain we're both afraid to pull back. Alexander orders wine, a bottle of Chianti that costs more than I make in a week, but neither of us drinks much. We're too nervous, too aware that this conversation could either heal us or destroy us completely. "How's work?" he asks, and I almost laugh at the banality of it. Here we are, two people who've shared the most intense emotional experience of our lives, and we're talking about work like strangers on a first date. "It's good. Different. I'm doing cybersecurity consulting for nonprofits now, helping them protect themselves from people like Derek." I meet his eyes across the table. "It's my way of trying to balance the scales, I suppose." "Penance? Redemption, maybe, or at least the attempt at it." I take a sip of wine, letting the warmth steady my nerves. "What about you, besides the foundation, I mean?" "The foundation is everything now. I sold Stone Industries 6 months ago, kept enough to live comfortably, but the rest went into the endowment." Alexander's smile is rueful. "Turns out I don't need billions of dollars to be happy. Who knew?" "You gave up your life's work." "I traded my life's work for my life's purpose. There's a difference." He leans forward, his gray eyes intense. "The foundation has saved over 300 children in the past year, Sophia. 300 families who won't have to choose between love and money the way you did." The weight of his words settles over me like a blanket. He's taken the worst thing that ever happened to him and transformed it into salvation for others. "I'm glad," I say quietly. "I'm glad something good came from all the pain we caused." "We didn't cause pain, Sophia. Derek caused pain. We were just collateral damage in his war." "I still made choices." "You made impossible choices under impossible circumstances." Alexander reaches across the table, his fingers brushing mine. "I've had a year to think about this, to replay every moment of our time together." "You know what I realized?" I shake my head, not trusting my voice. "I realized that loving someone means understanding why they make the choices they make, even when those choices hurt you. You didn't betray me out of greed or malice. You betrayed me out of love for your sister. How can I condemn you for that when I would have done the same thing in your position?" Tears start flowing down my cheeks, and I don't try to stop them. You wouldn't have had to make that choice. You would have found another way. Maybe, or maybe I would have been just as desperate, just as scared, just as willing to do anything to save someone I loved. Alexander's thumb traces across my knuckles, the touch gentle and familiar and heartbreakingly tender. "The question isn't whether you made mistakes, Sophia. The question is whether we can learn from them." "What are you saying?" I whisper, afraid to hope, afraid to believe that forgiveness might actually be possible. "I'm saying that I spent a year being angry at you, and it accomplished nothing except making us both miserable." Alexander's voice is steady, certain. "I'm saying that I'd rather spend the next year, the next decade, the next lifetime, learning how to trust each other again." My heart stops beating for several seconds before resuming at double speed. "Alexander, I love you, Sophia. I never stopped loving you, even when I hated what you'd done, even when I tried to convince myself that everything between us was a lie." His fingers intertwine with mine, anchoring us both. "I love your fierce loyalty to your family. I love how you sacrifice yourself for others without even thinking about it. I love how you turned your guilt into something productive instead of wallowing in self-pity." I did wallow in self-pity, I confess through my tears, for months. "Good, you should have. What happened between us was traumatic for both of us. We both needed time to process, to heal, to figure out who we are after everything we've been through." Alexander's smile is soft, understanding. "But I don't want to waste any more time on regret. I want to spend whatever time we have left building something real together. What if I hurt you again? What if there are more secrets, more impossible choices? Then we'll face them together. No more secrets, no more lies, no more choosing between love and survival." Alexander's lifts our joined hands to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to my knuckles. I know it won't be easy. Trust, once broken, doesn't rebuild overnight. But I want to try, Sophia. I want to try because what we had was worth fighting for. I can barely breathe around the hope expanding in my chest. I want to try too, more than anything. Then let's try. Let's take it slow. Let's be honest about everything. Let's build something that can survive whatever life throws at us. Alexander's eyes are bright with unshed tears, with love, with the promise of second chances. Let's choose each other, Sophia. Not because we have to, but because we want to. When he leans across the table to kiss me, it tastes like forgiveness, like redemption, like coming home after a long, painful journey. It's not the desperate passion of our first kiss, but something deeper, more mature, more lasting. It's the kiss of two people who've been broken and healed and are ready to love again, carefully and completely. "I love you too," I whisper against his lips. "I never stopped loving you, not even when I hated myself for what I'd done." I know. Alexander's forehead rests against mine, our breaths mingling in the space between us. I know, because you're here, because you never gave up on us, even when you thought there was no hope left. So what happens now? Now we start over, honestly this time. No secrets, no lies, just us and whatever future we want to build together. Alexander's smile is radiant, transforming his entire face. How does that sound? Like everything I've ever wanted. Good, because I have a proposition for you. I laugh despite my tears. I'm not sure I'm ready for another proposition involving you and money. It's not about money, it's about purpose. Alexander's expression grows serious, earnest. The foundation needs a head of cybersecurity, someone who understands the stakes, who knows how dangerous people like Derek can be, who's personally committed to protecting the children we serve. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a partnership. In the foundation, in the work, in life. Alexander pauses, his gray eyes searching mine. What do you say, Sophia Parker? Ready to save the world with me? I think about all the children like Emma who are fighting for their lives, about all the families facing impossible choices, about the chance to turn our tragedy into someone else's hope. I think about working beside Alexander every day, rebuilding trust and love and faith in the goodness of people. Yes, I say, sealing the promise with another kiss. Let's save the world. 2 years later, I wake up in Alexander's arms as golden morning light streams through the windows of our brownstone in Brooklyn. It's smaller than his old Manhattan penthouse, warmer and more personal, filled with photos of foundation recipients and rescued animals and the life we've built together, one careful day at a time. "Good morning, Mrs. Stone," he murmurs against my hair, and I still get butterflies when he calls me that, even after 6 months of marriage. "Good morning, husband." I turn in his arms, marveling that this is real, that we're real, that love really can survive betrayal and bloom again stronger than before. Any regrets about marrying a reformed corporate spy? Only that it took us 2 years to get here. His fingers trace lazy patterns on my bare shoulder, a gesture so familiar now that I can't imagine mornings without it. Though I suppose we needed the journey to appreciate the destination. He's right. The slow, careful process of rebuilding trust wasn't easy. There were setbacks, arguments, moments when the weight of our past threatened to crush our future. But we worked through each obstacle together, learning to communicate honestly, to forgive completely, to choose love over fear every single day. The foundation thrives beyond our wildest dreams. In 2 years, we've saved over 800 children, funded groundbreaking research, and created a model that other organizations are copying worldwide. I serve as Chief Security Officer, using my hard-earned expertise to protect the families who trust us with their most vulnerable moments. Emma is our success story and our greatest advocate. Cancer-free for 3 years now, she works as a patient liaison, helping other families navigate the complex emotions of serious illness. She and Alexander have become close friends, bonded by their shared love for me and their determination to help others avoid the impossible choices we once faced. "I have something for you," Alexander says, reaching into his nightstand drawer. He pulls out a small velvet box, and my heart skips a beat. "We're already married, Alexander." This isn't an engagement ring. He opens the box to reveal a simple silver pendant shaped like a key. It's the key to my heart, the one you never really lost, even when we were apart, even when we thought we'd destroyed everything. I laugh through my tears as he fastens the necklace around my neck. "You're impossibly romantic. Do you know that? Only with you. Only for you." We spend the morning in bed, talking about our plans for the Foundation's new mobile treatment units, about the house we want to buy Emma when she finishes her master's degree in social work, about the children we hope to have someday. It's an ordinary Saturday morning, made extraordinary by the simple fact that we're together, that we chose each other despite everything that tried to tear us apart. Later, as we sit in our garden watching Emma play with our 3 rescued dogs, Alexander takes my hand and asks, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd told me the truth from the beginning?" Sometimes, I admit, watching Emma throw a tennis ball for our golden retriever Murphy. But then I think we might not have appreciated each other as much. We might have taken love for granted. And now? Now I know that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest when you mess up, fighting for each other when things get hard, and choosing forgiveness over resentment every single day. I squeeze his hand, feeling the warm weight of my wedding ring against his skin. It's about turning your worst mistakes into your greatest lessons. Alexander brings our joined hands to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to my wedding ring. "I choose you, Sophia Stone, today and always. And I choose you, Alexander, forever and always." As the sun begins to set over our small but perfect life, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, I think about the woman I was 3 years ago, desperate, scared, willing to betray the man she loved for money she thought would save her sister. That woman is gone, transformed by love and forgiveness and the hard work of becoming someone worthy of a second chance. The Foundation's newest success story arrives tomorrow, a 7-year-old boy named James, who reminds me of Emma at that age, full of life and dreams and unshakable hope. Because of what Alexander and I built together, James will have the chance to grow up, to fall in love, to make his own mistakes, and find his own redemption. "Thank you," I whisper to Alexander as stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. For what? For teaching me that love isn't about never falling down, it's about helping each other get back up. Alexander's smile is radiant, illuminating our garden and our future and all the lives we'll touch together. No, my love, thank you for teaching me that some betrayals are really just love in disguise. As we walk back toward our house hand in hand, hearts full of gratitude and hope, I know our story will inspire others facing impossible choices. We'll show them that redemption is possible, that love can survive anything, that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the best thing you ever did. Spying on him was my biggest mistake. But falling in love with him was the only truth that ever mattered.
Your heart knows the way. Subscribe and follow the beauty.